Cultural tourism is the oldest type of tourism and most popular of all. Tourists who are into cultural tourism are fascinated by the history of such countries. They travel to see ancient monuments for real and learn about the people who are now the grandchildren of the ancients they admire. Adventures by Disney Touring Company has selected Egypt as one of the most important global tourist destinations in 2020. It offered a 10-day trip including 5 locations and 22 sites in Egypt, from Cairo to Aswan to Luqsor then Sharm el-Sheikh. The tour will include visits to breathtaking places like the pyramids, the Sphinx, Salah ad-Din Citadel, the Great Mosque of Muhammad Ali, the Grand Egyptian Museum, Khan el-Khalili Market, as well as Edfu and Luqsor temples, plus much more. The program also includes a 3-night river cruise and cultural activities like an Egyptian cooking class, Nubian folkloric shows, henna tattoos, and a hieroglyphic writing lesson. During the itinerary, visitors will enjoy snorkeling at Ras Mohammed National Park in the Red Sea. The Grand Egyptian Museum is going to be open in the 4th quarter of 2020. It is a clear testament that Egypt has a lot of heritage and a lot of antiquities to show to the world. The Grand Egyptian Museum is going to revive cultural tourism again, not just in Egypt but the whole world, as it is the only museum in the world that has the full collection of Tutankhamun and the only place where the pyramids are the backdrop.
Let's enjoy this happy day. Eid Mubarak, come on, let's celebrate. Eid Saeed, let's enjoy this happy day. Eid Mubarak, come on, let's celebrate, celebrate. Let's celebrate. Allah, Allah, thank you for this day.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and now we're joined over the phone by Mr Walid El Batouty, the former advisor to the Minister of Tourism. Mr Batouty, can you hear us, sir?
Yes, sir.
Mr Batouty, first of all, now Egypt has come long strides, took giant leaps actually in boosting the tourism sector here in Egypt for the year 2019. What have been the highlights for the past year to actually boost this very integral sector for the Egyptian economy here?
Well, we've worked on, I believe we did a very good job on all types of tourism. Regarding conferences, we did very good. Regarding the culture of tourism, we've been doing very, very good, and I was very lucky to attend a big seminar for one of the biggest travel tour operators in the United States, who the CEO of the company came to Egypt. He says, when I put Egypt on the plan, I was targeting maximum 5,000 tourists for the season, and he ended up with 14. So there was a 7,000 extra, and he said whenever we open any date, it gets sold out immediately, and the demand was very high on Egypt. And for the plan of 2020, hopefully he will be able to sell, or I think he sold so far close to 28, and he will be reaching close to 40,000. That's on the cultural tourism, and that's one tour operator, imagine, among the others. On the sports events, I believe we were able to pull the Africa Cup here in Egypt, and we did a very good job, despite the fact that we did not went to the finals and all of this. I'm talking about putting the event together, organizing, getting the fan ID, getting the people into this. So I believe we did very good last year, and the future, which is right after the feast, this is the beginning of the season of the cultural tourism. And one very important aspect, which is we've been selling Egypt not cheap like the past. In the past, Egypt had very good special offers and stuff like this, but that was not doing the country very good because we had numbers of tourism, but we did not have any profit. The money was very little money. We had cheap tourism. Now I believe the Egyptian government works with a complete different strategy, and they have a good study. We have variety of markets. We have lots of different other markets, and by the time we pick up between the holiday seasons, among them, it is really working fine. Hotels are upgrading themselves. The touristic sites are upgrading themselves. Bear in mind, hopefully, inshallah, 2020 is the year of GEM. GEM stands for the Grand Egyptian Museum.
Yes.
And this is a world event. This is not just for Egypt, but this is for humanity. Egypt has a great gift to the culture of the whole world, which is introducing the world's largest museum that would hold Egyptian monuments all together under one roof. And this is an event that the whole world is looking for. And at this time, when I say the whole world, I mean it. It is the whole world is looking for. King Tut and all his objects are going to be together under one roof again.
Yes.
People will see everything. So we're doing very good, and the government slightly is working on the infrastructure. I have to tell you one last thing, if I have the chance quickly.
Please do.
The beach resorts, which is the fun resort, which is 87% of tourism around the world. Egypt, very soon, and take my word with the word, very soon, we will be competing with the top-notch destinations in the world regarding the beach and finest beaches, resorts, and stuff like this, because we have new virgin areas that no one stepped a foot on by the Red Sea coming soon. Apart from Marsa Alam and all of this, we have lots of other new places. So I believe we did very good, and I'm very optimistic on what's coming.
Yes. Well, Mr. Batouty, this is what already happened, and it is forecast that the Egyptian tourism sector would be probably the most booming in the year 2020. As you've mentioned, with the opening of the GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, you've mentioned the conferences and the sporting events, the African Cup of Nations. We've been witnessing many conferences in Sharm el-Sheikh, Aswan, the youth conferences, the economic conferences, the African conferences, all of these things. And we've seen the political will, as you've mentioned, to really show the levels and the standards, the high quality, the highest. How can we maintain this high level of performance in this sector for the coming years? Is it up to the government? Is it up to the public sector? Is it up to the private sector? Is it establishing more hotels, more services? How is it going to be performing?
First of all, we need to consider the training. Second, I just read yesterday a very interesting thing between Her Excellency Minister Rania Al-Mashat, the Minister of Tourism, and the Minister of Education, which they just signed a protocol that confirms teaching tourism in schools,
yes.
elementary, middle school, and high school. This is an unbelievable step.
Yes.
Which is, you're going through it's an education and teaching the little kids what is the benefit of tourism and what do we get out of it and all of this, which is very important because we've always been asking and begging to have this part of the curriculum in schools and all of this. But the next thing, which is you asking a very valid question, you say, how can we maintain it? You will not maintain it unless you work on training. You're not going to last unless you always polish yourself and understand that you're going in a big competition. So bear in mind, we have a great tycoon coming soon, which is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is on the other side of the Red Sea, coming with great facilities, So we have to put this in consideration as well. The competition. In the past, we used to have a competition with Tunisia.
Yes.
Now the competition is coming across from the other side of Saudi Arabia, especially that the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia is facilitating all kinds of facilities, which will also help very much, plus the marketing, plus, who would ever think that Dubai will be a world destination 20 years ago? No one would ever think that people will definitely put Dubai on top of their bucket list that they want to go and visit with Dubai. Despite the fact I'm not trying to say anything bad.
Yes.
These people deserve all the best. They've worked on themselves. They've done a great job, and they are so good and smart on not wasting any opportunity. So we have, in order to stay in competition, the one thing we have great beaches, of course. We have the language, which is Egypt has never been a barrier in the language for the Middle East tourism.
Yes.
And the Gulf and all of this. So this is a plus. The currency, the short distance. Now Egypt facilitates lots of other things. A Saudi businessman could come here and run his business. We have an internet. Let me tell you one thing. I remember in the early 80s, Egyptian businessmen used to travel to the Mediterranean, to Greece or to Lebanon or to Cyprus to send the fax or to do their business. Bear in mind, here in Egypt now we're doing all the 4G and the internet and all of these things helps. All of these things helps. But to maintain it, as we said, and I hope you agree with me, is training. We have to stay on our foot, and we have to be up to the competition because the next week there'll be a new destination, and we hope the aviation as well be able to help with us. But so far we're doing very good. Egypt did very good in economy. As you know, on Bloomberg last month I read a report that the second best performing currency in the world was the Egyptian pound.
Yes.
And Bloomberg is the one that said that, not a local station that said that or anybody. But Bloomberg was saying that the second very good performance was the Egyptian pound. So we're doing good in economy and stability and security. The projects that have been done in Egypt, I wish that as His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said, I have no time to open and show you how much things that we have done, in order to do an opening to one project every day. The 365 days will not be enough.
Yes.
So we're doing good, but people have to be optimistic. People have to love Egypt more, and all of us have to work hard, because you will not get one step forward unless you work very hard and you work on yourself.
Yes. Well, Mr. Batouty, now, as you mentioned, now the World Tourism Forum has actually named Egypt the best model for crisis management and getting out of these crises quite solid. This is in light of the winning the International Leadership in Tourism Award this year from the International Council for Tourism and Travel. Winning these awards, having Egypt being named as the best model for crisis management. Now, does that reflect mainly on the individual foreign tourists, or does it also have an effect on the governments and the tourism ministries around the world? Does the ordinary citizen take notice of these awards, or is the international governments, when they take notice of such awards and such recognition, they can actually encourage their own citizens to come and travel to Egypt?
It does. It does have a positive impact. Whenever people read, they're going to a destination. The world now is different. People open, it's on the tip of their finger, on their phone. They do a review. So having positive news about Egypt, always it's plus, always it's on our side.
Yes.
That's why I hope through your program, I can just ask the people of Egypt, when you see something or anything that happens, please be patient. At Facebook, you're not going to be rewarded because you put the first thing about bad news or anything happen. I hope you understand what I'm trying to hit on. I was watching in the few days when we had the incident that took place by the hospital, and people are expecting that the government within 3 minutes to air a report. That there has to be an investigation, and we have to wait and we have to be patient till the investigation comes out with the report and everything. But in order for someone to get 20 likes and 2 shares and all of this, so you criticize your country or you go and put a breaking news and all of this, there's no reward, that you're not going to win a trophy, but you have to have a vision. You have to look with a wider angle that this is your country. It is not positive that you go and put breaking news and be the first one to break the bad news to the world and all of this. We have to wait and hold and everything. You may have seen a couple of weeks ago when British Airways said we're not going to Egypt. It did have a negative impact. Of course, it will make people say, what is it? Let me tell you something. I'm planning that I have to go to the United States. I have some business trip that I have to go. And I have seen in the news, with less than 24 hours, there was 2 mass shootings. This is not going to stop me. I'm a world traveler. I travel. I go around the world and all of this. But when the news comes from somebody it has definitely negative impact.
Yes.
So we have to, slow down a little bit in our country. We have to stop being harsh. I read a comment that really hurt my feelings today from one of the top anchors in your TV station on Nile TV, and she was saying that people criticizing us, people didn't know that we left our families, we were in threat the days that the building was surrounded, but we still come to work, and we did this because of Egypt, we did this for our country. I hope you know who I'm talking about. And I wrote to her, I said, listen, don't bother. You guys are doing a great job. Nile TV that I'm speaking on today is completely different than Nile TV 2 years ago. You guys are improving by the day, by the week, by the hour. You're doing a great job, and all what you need is that somebody to tap your shoulder and say thank you. You're doing a great job.
Well, that's very much appreciated, sir. Mr. Batouty, now focusing on cultural tourism, many countries around the world, they've studied Egyptology. They know exactly what is there to see from the history of Egypt. But how can we actually make this cultural, this sector of the tourism, the cultural sector, how can we actually make it even more competitive? How can we target different markets, be it the Americas and South America, be it the Far East of Asia? How can we reach out to these different areas, these different markets, the potential that these markets have to come and visit Egypt?
Right. Well, let me tell you one thing. We have a phenomenon around the world. It's called Egyptology. And we are the only country in the world that has a subject to be taught, and people could earn masters and PhD in the knowledge Egyptology, right? So this is it will never stop, and we're unique. We're the only country in the world that has this, and no matter where you dig in Egypt, you'll always find monuments and things coming up. And there is people that is driven crazy by the new things that it's coming. You know, 3-4 days ago, I saw His Excellency Prime Minister of Egypt and the Minister of Antiquity. They were in the Grand Egyptian Museum for the outer casket of Tutankhamun that came from Luxor, from his tomb, to be put finally. First it's going to go to the intensive care for restoration, and then it will be going, inshallah, to be in the exhibit with the rest of the antiquities of King Tut. So all of these things, we need just to use the top tactics in the world and promoting these things around the world.
Mr. Batouty, because we're running out of time, I have one final question. Now, we're always aiming to reach the levels that the tourism industry was at before, the 2011 and 2010 years. Now, would it be too ambitious to actually aim for even higher levels than the pre-2010 levels?
Inshallah, before we got into 2020, I'm expecting that between September and December this year, we will break the number of 2010.
Mr. Walid El Batouty, the former advisor to the Minister of Tourism, thank you very much for joining us. And ladies and gentlemen, obviously there's still a lot of work to be done here in the tourism sector, but a lot of good performance and good indicators have been achieved by the Egyptian tourism sector here in recent years, and many more to come. It's a very good, we have many good reasons to be hopeful and to be aspiring for better performances by this very integral and vital sector. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. On behalf of myself and everybody here at the channel, we wish you a very happy returns for the Feast of Sacrifice. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Henny Saif. Thank you for joining us.